The Galactic Safety Council had studied more than 12,000 planets. Most were harmless, some were dangerous. A few were called Deathworlds. Only 9 had ever reached Class 9. Every species from those worlds evolved natural weapons, claws, armor, venom, or hardened skin. They survived because their planets never stopped trying to kill them. Then, a new report appeared on the chamber screen. Planet, Earth. Classification, Class-9 Deathworld. The Council expected fear from the human ambassador. Instead, he laughed. Not nervous, not confused, a real laugh. The armored delegates shifted in their seats. One observer checked the translator twice. "Human representative," said the chairman carefully, "do you dispute the rating?" The human wiped his eye and straightened his suit. "Oh no," he said calmly. "Earth is definitely dangerous." The chamber relaxed slightly. Then the human added, "I'm just wondering who lowballed it." Silence filled the room. Temperature monitors dropped 2 degrees as multiple species reacted in alarm. The chairman leaned forward. "You believe the classification is too low." The human smiled politely. "You didn't study humans," he said. "You studied the planet." He stood up to leave. "And that," he added, "is the mistake everyone makes." The council immediately ordered direct observation. They would soon regret it. The Galactic Safety Council did not like uncertainty. Numbers were comfort, charts were safety, predictions were control. The human had taken that away in one sentence. So they approved direct study. 3 specialists were assigned: Observer Kell, environmental biologist; Observer Reth, medical officer; Observer Siva, behavioral analyst. Their mission was simple: spend 7 Earth days on the surface, confirm the Class 9 rating. None of them expected problems. After all, they had studied Deathworlds before. They had walked on planets with acid rain. They had survived methane storms. They had documented creatures that hunted using sound alone. Earth looked mild. Arrival. Their shuttle landed near a populated human settlement called a city park. The hatch opened slowly. All 3 observers stepped out wearing full hazard protection suits. They waited. No attack came. No poisonous fog appeared. No territorial predators charged them. Instead, a small animal ran toward them. Reth raised a plasma cutter instantly. Hostile organism approaching. The human guide quickly pushed the weapon down. "No, no, that's a dog." The animal wagged its tail and sat down in front of them. Cal scanned it. No venom glands, no armor, low bite pressure. The creature rolled onto its back and exposed its stomach. The observers froze. "Is it surrendering?" Siva asked. The human laughed. "It wants belly rubs." The council later replayed the recording 17 times. None of them understood why a predator would request affection from a larger unknown species. The children. Minutes later, several smaller humans approached. "Are they juveniles?" Ref asked. "Yes," the guide said proudly. "Kids." The children circled the aliens with curiosity instead of fear. One knocked on Kell's armored leg. "Are you robots?" Before the guide could respond, a child climbed onto a metal structure 10 feet high. Kell prepared a warning. The child slipped. He fell directly onto the ground. Reth activated emergency medical mode and rushed forward. But the child stood up. He was bleeding from the knee. He looked at it. Then he shrugged. "I'm okay." He ran back to the structure and climbed again. The observers stared. "No treatment?" Reth asked. The guide blinked. "It's just a scrape." Kell recorded. "Human juveniles ignore injury signals." Siva corrected the note. "Human juveniles appear to learn through injury." Human food. Later, the guide brought them to a food area. Multiple humans were eating substances producing visible steam. Kel scanned a red liquid. Temperature exceeds safe consumption levels. The guide smiled. Hot sauce. A human poured the liquid onto food, then added more. He ate it. His eyes watered. He coughed, then said, "Perfect." Reth was alarmed. Is he under duress? No, the guide replied. He likes spicy food. Siva watched another human drink a dark chemical mixture called coffee. Caffeine levels registered as a biological stimulant used in small doses by most species for emergencies. The human drank an entire container, then another. Kel updated the report. Humans willingly ingest chemical irritants for enjoyment. Voluntary environmental exposure. The next observation site was a large body of water, temperature near freezing. Several humans were entering it voluntarily. Siva checked the schedule. No survival exercise listed. The guide removed his outer clothing and jumped into the water. Reth screamed through the comms. Guide is attempting self-termination. Seconds later, the guide surfaced, laughing. Come on, it's refreshing. Multiple humans swam happily. Kel calculated hypothermia probability. It should have been fatal within minutes. Instead, the humans remained active and social. One even splashed another. The observers did not enter the water. They marked it as a probable insanity ritual. The weather event. Day 3 introduced the real danger. Wind speeds suddenly increased. Dark clouds formed rapidly. Kel finally felt relief. Hostile climate cycle detected. Rain began falling sideways. Trees bent under pressure. Humans did not evacuate immediately. They continued activities calmly. Some even stood outside recording the storm. One human shouted joyfully, "Best storm this year." Reth stared. The environment is attacking, and they celebrate? Emergency alerts finally sounded. Humans moved indoors, but without panic. They treated a potentially lethal storm as a mild inconvenience. Afterward, children jumped into water puddles for recreation. The medical center. The observers visited a hospital next, finally, a place of seriousness. They watched a human doctor repair a broken bone. The patient remained conscious and made jokes during treatment. Reth quietly asked, "Why is sedation not mandatory?" The doctor replied, "He said he's fine." The patient waved with the non-broken arm. "Hurts, but I got work tomorrow." Kel wrote a long note. Humans display extreme tolerance to pain and continue routine behavior while injured. Siva added, "Pain does not reliably alter human decision-making." Daily danger. By day 5, the observers realized something disturbing. Earth was dangerous, but not in dramatic ways. Not giant monsters, not constant disasters. Instead, small risks, constant hazards, endless minor threats. Sharp objects, fast vehicles, microorganisms, temperature swings, chemical exposure, physical impacts. Every day, everywhere. And humans treated it as normal life. The observers believed they finally understood humans. They were durable, they tolerated pain, they accepted risk. But they still assumed one thing: humans avoided injury when possible. The sporting event corrected that idea immediately. Arrival. The transport stopped beside a massive open structure filled with lights and noise. Thousands of humans gathered around it. Many wore matching colors and symbols. Some painted their faces. Some shouted loudly at strangers wearing different colors. Kel checked for signs of conflict escalation. Possible tribal aggression behavior, he noted. The human guide shook his head. It's just fans. Inside, the field stretched wide and flat. Bright markings crossed the ground in careful lines. Two groups of large humans stood opposite each other. They wore armor, but it was thin compared to military gear. Reth relaxed slightly. Protective equipment detected. Injury unlikely. The guide said nothing. A loud horn sounded. Then the humans ran directly at each other. Impact. The collision echoed across the stadium. The observers flinched inside their suits. Kel's sensor spiked. Impact force equivalent to small vehicle crash. The humans fell into a pile. For a moment, no one moved. Reth prepared emergency medical dispatch. Then the humans stood up. They returned to their positions. The crowd cheered. Siva replayed the recording twice. Was that accidental contact? The guide blinked. No, that's the game. Again the horn sounded. Again they ran into each other. Again. Repeated full-force impacts, intentional, organized, applauded. Kel began a new file. Humans simulate combat for recreation. The injured player. Midway through the event, one human remained on the field. Medical staff ran onto the field. Finally, the observers saw reason. The injured human's arm hung at an unnatural angle. Reth nodded. Bone fracture confirmed, participant removed from activity. But the human shook his head. After brief treatment, he stood. The crowd roared louder than before. He returned to the field. Kel spoke slowly. He continues despite structural damage. The guide smiled. He's tough. Minutes later, the same human helped stop an opponent twice his size. The stadium erupted in celebration. Siva added to the report. Social reward overrides self-preservation in human group activities. The fans. The observers then studied the spectators. Heart rates elevated, adrenaline high, emotional responses intense, yet no actual threat existed to them. Two strangers argued loudly. Then they laughed and shared food. Kel was confused. They display combat behavior without hostile intent. The guide handed them a hot dog. Want a hot dog? Reth scanned it. Composition questionable. The guide took a bite. Safe enough. Kel recorded. Humans defined safety differently than other species. The aftermath. When the event ended, humans walked out calmly. Some limped. Some held ice to injuries. Some celebrated victory. None treated the experience as survival. It was entertainment. Back in the transport, the observers reviewed the footage again. Siva finally spoke. This is not dominance behavior. Kel agreed. Nor training. Reth added quietly. They willingly endure pain for emotional satisfaction. The guide shrugged. It's fun. The discovery. That night, the observers expanded their research. They accessed public Earth data. Sports were not rare. They were everywhere. Humans raced faster than safe speeds. They climbed mountains without oxygen. They fought in controlled arenas. They jumped from aircraft voluntarily. Kel compared it to known Deathworld species. Other species survived danger. Humans pursued it. The pattern. Siva built a emotional model. Earth constantly produced small threats. Instead of avoiding them, humans practiced facing them. Falling taught balance. Pain taught limits. Risk taught control. Over generations, fear changed function. It no longer stopped action, it guided action. Reth summarized, humans are not reckless. Kel looked at the screen. No, they are accustomed. Council reaction. The observers sent priority data to the Galactic Council. The chamber watched the impacts in silence. Several delegates requested medical verification again. The response returned quickly. Normal injuries, expected recovery. An armored representative asked, "They damaged themselves for amusement?" Another answered quietly, "No, they normalized damage." The council began preparing a classification update. Earth was more hostile than predicted, but still measurable, still understandable. Then Siva accessed Earth historical archives and found something worse: the real apex predator. The most lethal organism on Earth was not large, it was not fast, it was not visible. Microorganisms. Microorganisms and viruses had killed humans more than all disasters combined. Yet humanity had not been exterminated. They adapted, invented medicine, altered environment, fought invisible enemies continuously. Kel stared at the numbers. Extinction probability should have been certain. Ref whispered. They refused extinction. The council received the data. Silence spread across the chamber. The classification vote paused. They needed more evidence. Then an emergency alert arrived. The incident. A civilian human cargo vessel had been intercepted by pirates in nearby space. The observer's transport was docked aboard. They were now inside an active hostile encounter. Pirates demanded surrender. The human crew complied peacefully. Kel felt relief. Finally, they avoid danger. The guide simply fastened his seat restraint. "You might want to watch carefully," he said. The pirates boarded, weapons ready, armor heavy. The humans raised their hands, no resistance. The observers recorded compliance behavior. Then one pirate struck a human crew member. The human fell and smiled. Siva felt a strange unease. The human captain spoke calmly. "Are you sure you want to do this?" The pirate laughed. "Yes." The captain sighed. "Okay." The lights went out.
Darkness covered the cargo ship. Not dim light, not emergency red. Complete darkness. Every system shut down at once. The pirates' armor lights activated instantly, cutting bright beams across the corridor. The observers' suits switched to night vision. They expected panic. Instead, they heard footsteps. Slow, calm, controlled. The human captain's voice came from somewhere in the dark. "You should have stayed polite." A pirate fired a plasma shot toward the sound. The blast hit a wall. No scream followed, only silence. Confusion. Pirates were trained for boarding actions. They fought armed resistance. They fought automated defenses. They did not train for empty corridors. One pirate moved forward cautiously. His scanner showed no movement. Then a sound came from behind him, a metal clang. He turned. Nothing. Another pirate spoke nervously. "They are hiding." The captain answered from above. "No," he said calmly. "We live here." A shape dropped from the ceiling. One pirate hit the floor instantly. Not dead, unconscious. No energy weapon used, no armor penetration, precise force. Reth stared at the feed. They are disabling without tools. The ship becomes a weapon. The observers realized something strange. Humans were not charging the enemy, they were controlling the environment. Doors opened and closed remotely, lights flashed unpredictably, floor panels shifted. The humans knew the ship better than the invaders. Kel whispered. They turned territory into advantage. Siva corrected. They turned familiarity into dominance. A pirate attempted to retreat. A storage container slid into his path, not fast, just enough to make him stumble. A human was waiting. One movement. The weapon was gone. The pirate restrained. No lethal strike. Calculated restraint. Pain tolerance. One human crew member took a direct plasma burn across his shoulder. The observers expected collapse. He wrapped it tightly with fabric and continued moving. Heart rate elevated, motor control stable. Reth spoke quietly. He is functioning beyond safe biological limits. The guide replied over comms. He'll get treatment later. Later, Reth repeated. After the problem. The turning point. The pirates regrouped in the cargo bay. Heavier weapons deployed. They prepared a defensive perimeter. The observers predicted the humans would avoid confrontation. Instead, a human voice echoed through the speakers.
"You can leave now. No one else gets hurt." The pirate leader laughed. "You are unarmed." The captain answered, "You misunderstand unarmed." The cargo bay doors opened. Gravity shifted slightly. Loose cargo began drifting. The pirates lost stable footing. The humans wore magnetic boots. They moved normally. The pirates floated awkwardly. Weapons aim destabilized. In seconds, every pirate was disarmed. Not killed, captured. Aftermath. Emergency lighting returned. The humans secured restraints. Medical staff treated both sides, even the pirates. Kel watched in disbelief. "You preserve hostile life forms?" The captain shrugged. Conflict ended. Siva recorded carefully. Humans escalate only to necessary level of force, but they escalate extremely effectively. The realization. The observers reviewed the entire encounter. No superior strength used, no superior weapons used, only adaptation, environment use, pain tolerance, coordination, psychological pressure. Humans had not fought harder, they had fought smarter, while injured, in darkness, against armed opponents. Reth summarized, "They are persistence predators." Kel added, "They weaponize problem solving." Siva finished, "They do not panic in chaos, they function in it." Message to the Council. A full priority transmission was sent. The Galactic Council watched silently. No cheering crowds, no sporting fun, just controlled violence and restraint. The chairman spoke slowly. "This species survived a death world, then learned to carry it with them." A delegate asked quietly, "What classification accounts for that?" No one answered. The human explanation. Before the observers departed, Siva asked the captain one final question. "Why did you not fear the pirates?" The captain thought briefly. "We did fear them," he said. Siva tilted her head. "You showed no fear." The captain smiled slightly. "Fear tells you something matters. It doesn't tell you to stop." He gestured around the ship. "On Earth, if fear stopped us, we'd never leave our homes." Kel processed the statement. "So you act despite fear?" The captain nodded. "Every day." The true danger. Back in orbit, the observers reviewed all collected data. Earth was not the most violent world, not the hottest, not the coldest, but it never allowed comfort. Constant small threats shaped constant adaptation. Humans were not strong because Earth tried to kill them. They were strong because Earth never stopped trying, and they never stopped answering. The Council reconvened immediately. A reclassification vote began. For the first time in recorded history, the scale itself was questioned. The Galactic Safety Council had existed for over 3,000 cycles. In that time, the classification system had never failed. Danger was measurable. Risk was predictable. Survival probability could be calculated. Until Earth. The chamber filled early. Representatives from dozens of species attended in person instead of remotely, a rare sign of concern. At the center of the room floated the rating scale, Class 1 to Class 9. Simple, trusted, absolute. Today, it no longer looked certain. The Evidence Review. Observer Siva presented first. She displayed recordings from the park. Children falling and continuing play. Animals befriending unknown species. Humans accepting minor injury as routine. No survival panic response, she explained. Instead, adaptive learning behavior. Next came Kel. Storm footage appeared. Humans walking calmly through violent weather. Recreational exposure to cold water. Consumption of chemical irritants labeled as food. Environmental hostility is normalized, Kel said. They develop tolerance instead of avoidance. Then Reth. The pirate encounter filled the chamber screens. Dark corridors, controlled movement, injured humans still functioning, no lethal force when unnecessary. The room remained silent. Finally, Reth spoke. They do not merely survive danger, they incorporate it into decision-making. The first debate. An armored delegate objected. Other Deathworld species show resilience. This is not unique. Siva responded calmly. Other species adapt to specific threats. Humans adapt to unpredictable threats. Kel added, their environment is inconsistent, therefore their behavior becomes flexible. The chairman asked, explain simply. Reth answered, most species survive because they are specialized. Humans survive because they are not. The chamber murmured. Historical analysis. The council then reviewed human history. Ice ages survived, plagues endured, predators overcome, self-created disasters recovered from. Each catastrophe reduced population, none ended the species. Even internal conflict failed to eliminate them. One delegate whispered, they are a self-correcting system. Another replied, they are a self-repairing one. The problem. The chairman turned to the scale. Class 9 indicates a planet that produces maximum biological lethality, he said. He paused, but Earth produces something else. Siva finished the thought, a species trained by continuous adversity. Kel added, the danger is no longer the planet. Reth concluded, the danger travels. Silence followed. The proposal. A new projection appeared. Suggested classification, Class 10. Gasps spread instantly. The scale officially ended at 9. Creating 10 meant rewriting law. An elder delegate asked carefully, what justifies exceeding maximum rating? Siva replied, the previous scale measures environmental threat. Earth produces behavioral threat. Kel displayed a comparison chart. Other Deathworld species avoided conflict off-world. Humans explored immediately. Other species avoided uncertain environments. Humans entered them. Other species retreated after injury. Humans continued operation. Reth summarized, they do not become safe when removed from danger. They bring capability with them. The second debate. Resistance formed quickly. If we change the scale once, it will lose meaning, argued a trade representative. Another added, no single species should redefine universal measurement. The chairman turned to the observers. Final justification? Siva took a moment. Then she said, we did not change the scale. We discovered it was incomplete. Kel followed. Earth is not the most deadly planet. Humans are the most persistent survivors. Reth finished quietly, and persistence defeats lethality over time. The chamber fell still again. The human ambassador. Throughout the meeting, the human ambassador had remained silent. Finally, the chairman addressed him. Human ambassador, do you contest the new classification? The human leaned forward. No, he said. The council waited. He continued, but you are still measuring the wrong thing. Multiple delegates stiffened. What should be measured? The chairman asked. The human smiled slightly. You measure how dangerous a world is to live on. He gestured around the chamber. You should measure how dangerous its survivors are to oppose. No one spoke. The final vote. Voting lights activated across the chamber. Green, approve Class 10. Red, maintain Class 9. The count began. Green lights slowly outnumbered red, but not unanimously. Several species hesitated. The chairman watched the results carefully. Then he asked one last question. To the observers, if provoked, what would humans do? Siva answered, They would attempt peace first. Kell added, if peace failed, they would adapt. Reth concluded, and they would not stop. The remaining lights turned green. A new category. The display changed. Not Class 10, something else. Category added, Existential Persistence World. Designation applied, Earth. The chamber read the definition together. A world whose native species maintains survival capability beyond environmental boundaries and retains adaptive conflict behavior outside native conditions. The scale had not been extended, it had evolved. Quiet understanding. The chairman looked toward the human ambassador. This classification is not an accusation, he said carefully. The human nodded. I know. He stood to leave, then paused. You finally studied humans, he said. The chairman asked softly, and what should we do with this knowledge? The human answered simply, don't corner us. He exited the chamber. No one laughed. After the vote, new interstellar guidelines were written within hours. Engage humans diplomatically. Avoid intimidation tactics. Do not rely on environmental advantage. Never assume surrender equals defeat. One final note was added. Humans interpret survival as victory, and survival had no upper limit. But one question remained unspoken in the council. If Earth trained them, what would happen if humanity ever faced a threat greater than their own world? The observers already suspected the answer. They just hoped they would never witness it.
Weeks passed after the new classification. The galaxy adjusted quickly. Trade routes updated their guidelines. Military doctrines changed wording. Diplomats used softer language around humans. Officially, nothing dramatic happened. Unofficially, everyone paid attention. Earth was not feared, it was noted, and that was enough. The quiet test. Far beyond the central systems, a mining colony stopped responding. Not unusual, not rare. Stations failed sometimes, usually mechanical failure, sometimes piracy. A nearby patrol arrived to investigate. They found the station intact, lights on, air breathable. No survivors, no bodies, just empty rooms, and one repeating message on every screen. Stay quiet. The patrol withdrew and informed the council. No species claimed responsibility. No weapons fired detected. No known technology matched the disappearance. The council classified the event as unknown hazard and prepared a quarantine zone. Then, a human cargo ship requested permission to pass nearby. The council denied it immediately. The human captain responded calmly, "Understood, but we already received the signal." The chamber went silent. The pattern recognition. Human analysts studied the transmission. It contained no language, no code, only rhythm, repetition, intervals. They compared it to natural patterns, heartbeats, footsteps, predatory stalking behavior. One human scientist spoke quietly. This isn't a warning, it's hunting behavior. The council demanded explanation. The human continued. It removes activity when detected. Silence keeps you alive. A delegate asked nervously, "You've seen this before?" The human nodded. "Yes, on Earth many times." The decision. The council prepared evacuation plans for nearby systems. Before they finished, humanity submitted a request. Not a complaint, not a protest, a proposal. They asked permission to investigate. The chamber erupted instantly. "Denied! Too dangerous! Unknown threat level!" The human ambassador waited patiently. Then he said, You classified us because we survive hostile environments. He looked around the chamber. Let us do what we evolved to do. The chairman hesitated. What if you cannot stop it? The human replied simply, then you needed the warning anyway. After long debate, permission was granted. Into the silence. A small human vessel entered the quarantine zone. No weapons powered, no shields raised, only passive sensors. Observers watched closely from a safe distance. The ship reached the empty station, docked slowly. For hours, nothing happened. Then the human crew turned off exterior lights. Total darkness. Kel whispered, "They're hiding from the threat." Siva corrected softly, "No, they are matching it." For 6 hours, the ship remained silent. No signals, no movement. Then one faint transmission came through. Human voice, "We understand you." The council froze. Another message followed, not human. A pattern changed. Intervals shifted. The humans responded again. "We remove noise. We can be quiet." Minutes passed. No disappearance occurred, no attack. Reth realized first. They are communicating through behavior. The unknown presence reacted to activity. Humans offered stillness, patience, non-threat existence, exactly as prey animals once did, exactly as hunters once learned. The outcome. After several hours, power returned to the mining station automatically. Life support stabilized. Escape pods drifted nearby, previously undetected. Survivors inside, alive. The unknown presence had not killed them. It had isolated disturbance. Human scientists concluded, a territorial entity, not malicious, not intelligent in the traditional sense, reactive. The humans transmitted one final message. We will stay quiet, you stay distant. The pattern slowed, then vanished. The region became safe again. The council learns. Back in the chamber, no one spoke for a long time. Finally, the chairman asked, "You solved it without force?" The human ambassador nodded. Force isn't always survival. Kel reviewed the report carefully. You adapted behavior to match the threat. Siva added, you treated the unknown like part of an ecosystem. Reth concluded, you behaved exactly as if it were Earth. The human smiled. It was just another environment. The understanding. The council realized something important. Humanity was not dangerous because they fought. They were dangerous because they endured. They could fight. They could negotiate. They could wait. Most species specialized in one survival strategy. Humans used all of them and switched naturally. The final record. The council added one last line to Earth's classification. Advisory note. Humans are safest when treated as neighbors. They are most dangerous when treated as obstacles. The human ambassador read it. He nodded approvingly. Accurate. The chairman asked one last question. Why help us? The human thought for a moment, then answered, because the galaxy is basically a bigger wilderness. He stood, and humans don't survive the wilderness alone. Across the stars, ships traveled normally again. Trade resumed. Fear faded, but the record remained. Earth, not the deadliest world. Humanity, not the strongest species. Yet whenever the unknown appeared, the galaxy called the ones raised by a planet that never stopped testing them, because survival was their first language, and they spoke it fluently.